Your next big event is right around the corner, but is your inquiry process ready to handle them? They say first impressions are key. And today we're going to go into how to have a inquiry system that is how to have an inquiry process that will ensure success and improve your conversion rate. Hey, event industry business owners, handling not only executing your events, but also handling new inquiries can sometimes be one of the biggest challenges of wearing multiple hats, not to even mention social media, finances, and everything else. In today's video, my goal is to help you with ensuring how to create an inquiry process that is going to give you a winner first impression so that you're able to have a better conversion rate and not be stressed out. For those of you that are new to my channel, hi, my name is Jessie. I am with Green Eyed Ambition. I have over 15 years of experience in the event industry, and I'm super passionate about helping other event industry business owners with being able to have more clarity on the unsexy things about running a business. Today's video is going to be very helpful for you, and I'll give you some actionable steps to get started, and you want to make sure you watch to the end. As a HoneyBook Pro, I have had multiple people come and ask me questions about how to set up lead forms, what are some of the best questions to ask, or just why is it important to have a smooth inquiry process. For those of you that have never heard this term before, your inquiry process is essentially how people find out about your business and how you capture their information as well as initiating the sales process. One of the things that I talk about on this channel or when I'm working with people is that inside of our structure as service-based business owners or service providers is that we have 4 different stages. We have the inquiry process, the onboarding process, execution of the events or service, and then what we're going to do for offboarding. So in this video, we're going to talk about the first leg, which is the inquiry process. First step that you're going to be focusing on is how are people going to be able to inquire about your service? We don't want to only have communications in our DMs because what happens is that we will open up a message or things may be in the private message box where we have to actually approve them and things just get lost and you may lose out on the opportunity to make money with someone. In the past, vendors have lost opportunities to work with my own event business because it took them 2 months to reply back to inquiries that I had sent to them or for them to even send me proposals and quotes. So you don't want to be that person. The entry into your inquiry process will typically be an inquiry form. One of the mistakes that people make when it comes to their inquiry form is that they tend to ask a ton of questions. No one wants to answer 20 questions just so that they can get information about your prices and services. So you do want to ask important questions like the date, the type of event, guest count, location. Those are some of the key questions to ask. Do you have a hot take on always asking for the budget? One thing I have found out over the years is that sometimes people are not going to always be honest with budget. And if you're one of those individuals that are super busy and you see that you have a budget question and people are putting in budgets that are way under, or you are finding that people are not actually filling out your form, what I find is that people don't actually always put in their budget. They put in what they think it will cost for that service. I've had it multiple times throughout my professional career where someone said, I can afford to pay this, and they pay double that because they just gave me a number. And of course, people just want to try to get the best price as possible, but it's not because that's actually how much they can spend. But I do understand the importance of having that question on there. But I do think that there are other ways that you can help with ciphering out people that just really can't afford your service compared to someone that's guessing on how much it's going to cost. Because if you've noticed, there tends to be a disconnect on what people think it will cost compared to what it does cost. And you don't want it to be that you just immediately respond to people and thinking, oh, this person isn't ready. And then they go and spend money with someone else that could have actually made the money. Inside of HoneyBook, which is the platform that I use for my own business, they have the option for lead forms and contact forms. So the way that I try to do my design is making sure that I'm asking questions so I can know how people found out about my services, what are their main goals and focuses, as well as the company that they work for, because I do corporate events. Just have a key 10 questions. Anything more than that, you're guaranteed to have people lying And for those of you that have like balloon services and things like that, I've seen people with a ton of questions and you're asking your client, do you want this type of balloons and all these questions? Your client doesn't know all that. So you may just be making it difficult or just starting up a conversation that's just going to make it harder for you to actually execute your services. So just make sure that you're asking the key questions. The next thing to consider when you're actually doing your inquiry form or your lead form, you want to make sure that is in alignment with your brand. You want it to be that great first impression. So having proper grammar, whatever that means for you and your brand, making sure you're possibly even having some photos that are going to be able to showcase your business in the way that you're wanting it to showcase. I think it's super important to have that because your inquiry form is going to be really that first impression that is going to help someone find out if you're professional or not. And again, depending on the clients you have and the location you're at, that may not be important. However, again, I'm giving you advice from the corporate space. It's been times when I've tried to reach out to potential vendors and it did not give me a professional feeling, which then immediately made me feel like maybe this person is not a good fit for my brand. And nothing's wrong with that, but just be understanding that your clients are going to make a first impression. And for a more step-by-step example on lead forms, I will make sure to put a link here on a video that I did on different types of lead forms you can do inside of HoneyBook for those of you that are HoneyBook users. And if you're not a HoneyBook user, I'll make sure to have a link in the description so that you can try out a free trial because this will change your life. So we've talked about making sure you're asking the right questions and getting the information that's necessary and capturing your leads correctly. We also spoke about the importance of having a great first impression. The third thing you want to consider when it comes to onboarding new leads and increase inside of your business is how can you automate that process? That is important to be able to do because you don't want it to be that it takes someone to receive correspondence from you in days or even weeks. I've had someone respond back to me within a 4 month. It was a 3 or 4 month period. I reached out to them for something in February and they reached out to me. It was almost summer. And I was like, thanks for reaching out to me. This was for this holiday. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just got lost and da da da. And I never reached out to them again. I can't even remember the company if you paid me to. But you just don't want it to be that because you're doing everything so manually that you're having to rely on you remembering or just burning yourself out because you don't have automation. So you do want to make sure you're using automation so that you're either sending an automatic confirmation email whenever someone submits this message. You also want to be able to have a thank you or a brochure that's going to let people know, like, hey, these are our services. Now I want to share with you some tricks and tips if you are a HoneyBook user on how to really take your lead forms or your inquiry forms to the next level. So let's go inside of HoneyBook so I can show you. Inside of HoneyBook, you do have the ability to create multiple different types of lead forms. Contact forms are the older version of ways for people to get inside of your CRM. So lead forms are the best way to go about it. One of the things that is really important for you when you're selecting a lead form is understanding exactly what you want to happen as that first impression. One thing that I do keep in mind is if I am possibly doing balloons or if I'm a caterer, it's very common for people to reach out to multiple people just to get more information. However, what can happen is that if you have people just get access to your calendar immediately, you don't have the ability to actually qualify or disqualify if someone's a good fit. So what I do recommend, depending on the type of service you have and the quality of clients you normally work with, you want to make sure that you are allocating the proper form to ensure that you are not talking to someone that legitimately really cannot afford your product. So what I like to do or recommend to people, especially those of us in the event industry that tend to get a bunch of people that are just shopping around. So what you want to then do is make sure that you are doing just the regular inquiry form. Inside of HoneyBook, it does give you a standard template. So all you would do is click Edit Template. And you can put some questions here, but the thing I always do next is I just click Next. And then I just do Next. And then I do name the form accordingly. And then you do want to have some type of thumbnail cover, because if you are sending this in DMs or you're texting it to someone, it will pull up as a little image cover inside of that message. And I love to do that because I feel like, again, it gives that professional feeling. So you have the ability to have a confirmation email that immediately sends. So how I mentioned about automations is that maybe you are not understanding how to do automations. I do have a video on workflows, and I do even have a free resource that teaches you about workflows. So I'll make sure to have that in the description as well to help you of thinking through your process. But if the first step in my workflow for a new inquiry is that they get a smart file with information on my prices for them to schedule a time to talk, or for them to just pay for the service, I don't want to send them a confirmation email plus that other email. What I'll have happen is that the first automation email is going to be that initial confirmation. So it's going to be, thanks for reaching out to so-and-so's business. For you to find out more information about my services, click here to view this smart file. So I would toggle this off because I don't want this message to say, hey, you filled out this form, thank you. Because that can be bombarding the client with two different emails and they won't know what to do next. And if I already had the automation built out inside of HoneyBook, then I would just click automation and say what automation it would go into. But since I don't, I'm just going to say save and preview. So right now the system is doing an update. So what I'm just going to be doing is showing a behind the scenes of another lead form or inquiry form that I have. And this is for the podcast that I have, which is I guess a shameless plug for the Hustle Free Entrepreneur, where I'm interviewing event industry business owners to help us with succeeding and winning. And so with this lead form, I'm able to designate what colors I want. Actually was able to click on the gear and designate what's the title. So again, when I'm sending this to people, I wanted to say exactly what they are signing up for. You have the ability to put a personal touch on the end. And if you see here, I have send confirmation upon submission turned off, because the first step inside of it is inside of my podcast workflow. So you can have workflows for different types of project types or different types of reasons inside of your business. So with this specific example I'm giving you, this is my podcast workflow. If you have multiple team members, you can actually have multiple team members that are linked in here. You have the ability to redirect people to your website. You have the ability to also apply tags. So what someone I worked with did is that they had a special lead form that was only going to be promoted to their public events because they were a food truck. And they wanted to know exactly which inquiries came in that were food truck public requests. I'm just trying to give you as much of an example as possible. So they wanted to have tags that designated on that project, but also onto that person's account, because then they're able to pull this data later on. And again, you have the ability to designate a special project type if that's something you will want to do as well. I'm going to exit, continuing. So when you're doing your lead form, you have the ability to capture the appropriate information. We're not asking a ton. And like for this example, because I'm using this for people to schedule recording sessions with me. That's why it is facing, because these are not customers. This is a form for people to be on my podcast. If I was someone that was doing private dining, I don't know if I would personally have my calendar client facing, because again, that is something that I would think you would get a bunch of requests in that are not going to always be able to afford your prices and services. And you just want to protect your time so it doesn't take away from your actual bookings. I hope with sharing the behind the scenes to my HoneyBook inquiry form, it was able to help you, just kind of giving you a preliminary understanding of how you want to, one, ask the right questions, but not overwhelm somebody with 20 questions. We also want to make sure that we are making it in alignment with our brand. So we're giving a great first impression. We also want to make sure that there is at least some type of initial communication that's going out to this client. And with these simple tips, my whole goal is to give you some powerful tools and recommendations on how to use HoneyBook and manage your leads with a breeze. So remember, you just want to keep your inquiry process seamless so that you do not lose leads. And most importantly, you don't lose them because you did not respond. So start to embrace automation, embrace a CRM that's going to make your workload lighter. And then I do have those free resources for those that are looking for a little bit more guidance. All right, let me know what your thoughts are, and I look forward to the next video. Talk to you later. Peace.